Talked to a number of folks today already about PVs when we came in, and I'll mention in a minute we will be putting those on our facility here later this year. But we're seeing the move away from the crystalline to the thin film, and thin film is what we will be putting on at this product at our facility. And if the market continues to go as it should, it's probably the next product that we will integrate into manufacturing here in the U.S. Thin film is more cost effective, it gives us a better efficient product, and it's turned around pretty well for us. So hopefully by the end of this year we will have about 200 kilowatts on our facility. Where have we put the thin film? Again, I already been mentioned. Germany was the first place for some of these outside of Japan. Greece, Italy, and Spain. So there's an opportunity there because we've already discussed why were those the first locations for those. It's the policy. If it's a benefit to do that, it's not going to be easy for the first guys to get through that. And if you start looking at return on investment, you got to get creative. But if you've got something helping you with that, it's going to happen fairly quickly. And that's the first ones we've had in operation. We're actually in Germany. Our facility here in Orlando Central Park probably give me actually a little better than 200 kilowatts. Again, in summertime, it's a climate control facility. We've got 550 people manufacturing. We've got vacuum furnaces. We've got robots. We use about 5 megawatts in the summertime. That may sound like a very small piece, but it's a start. And it's a start just like we've talked about green. We incorporate LEED compliance. We hope we will have electric powered fork trucks as soon as they're completed by our Mitsubishi works for that also. So every little piece helps us with our cost. The intention is to have this operational by this time next year. And again, that's our first step at this facility. Then we'll look at the expanding. We have another 100,000 square foot of roof on the other building. See how that one goes. I haven't talked much about it today, but if you think about it, here in Florida, as well as many of these locations, solar is great during the day. The wind, most of the places that we need the wind turbines, the wind is maybe a little stronger at night. The energy storage and the battery storage is going to be critical to this mix as we go forward. We've got both a stationary cell and then a cell for the vehicles. In fact, in Japan already, they're utilizing these cells in prototype cars and buses for transportation. We know that the trains have already been electrified for a long time. This is important because it gives us an opportunity to utilize these renewables 24 hours a day. It's also, going to be very important as we look at what changes to the demand. You know, this is going to be something that folks are plugging their cars in at night. If it's managed properly, it's either going to create a real hassle or it's going to be an opportunity for us to utilize that to help out the overall energy system and grid as we go through. So we do have products that we're testing for that. We've got several of them in California and Texas right now, the stationary. And pretty much like you'd expect for the car, they package together. These are about the size of a small gas can, if you would, package together for that. I mentioned that most of the Mitsubishi corporations are autonomous. Well, actually, MHI and Mitsubishi Automotive are, Mitsubishi Automotive does have MHI as a partial owner just for this reason. That development's been going on for a few years, and if you've ever been to Japan, it's one of the best international trips you can ever make. But there will be electric cars there. There's no doubt they're going to be in that mode pretty quick. They're going to have to. So what's the future energy network going to look like? You know, it's not going to be cutting a switch on and off and getting completely there with all the renewables we're talking about, but there's a lot we can do to improve the efficiency and improve the existing systems, replace them perhaps with some IGCCs, improve them with some very high efficiency combined cycle utilization, use the energy, renewable energies and the storage of that, as well as when we start moving into the batteries for the vehicles, for the trains, and for storage units at your home and at offices and businesses, to help with the system that we've heard a little bit about. But now the whole grid idea is going to be a whole other discussion that we didn't hear a lot about during the election. The bill has it in there already. Folks realize that that's a big key to this that we have to address. Well, give you a look in at some of our strategic meetings. Not only is the CO2 emissions, the right thing to do to limit that, it's going to be the law. I mean, we see that coming. It's going to be the law, and carbon capture, if it has to happen for any of these IGCCs or others to be effective. If there's not a way to sequester that, then what are you going to do? You create another issue that actually builds up very quickly. Generation technology, it's going to be a mix. We haven't talked about it today, but if you look at the other, Japan, if you look at Europe, the other countries in the world, nuclear is going to be in that mix, I think. I think it has to be. And it's probably not going to happen in 7 years. Some of us grew up in the 70s and 80s building that. I hope it happens in 10. I think it's more like 12 or 15. But it'll be in that mix, because if it's not in that mix, we're talking about gigawatts of power, not kilowatts. So it's a long way to go, but the renewables play a big piece in that. Grid stabilization, I think we're going to hear a lot more about that in the very near future. That's a key piece no matter what the mix of generation technology is. Fossil fuels are finite. We've seen a number of charts of that, mentioning that today. Not only from a actual resource, but is it financially appropriate to go after some of these? We're going to hit that probably in our children's lifetime in some of these. You're exactly right. So there needs to be a move to get away from that necessity now. Be as efficient as possible. Find a way to find alternative forms to supplement that generation. And tax credits and subsidies. You know, you got to be profitable to be able to get a benefit from the tax credit. And there's a lot of concern with some of these businesses right now. They're going to be able to do that overall. So we have to find a way to get that. And I think that there's an opportunity there for this to be a very strong growth in the very near future. Here in Florida, we may as well be an island. If you look at us, you know, look at the grid, look at this, you know, the way we have to bring our resources in here. There's an opportunity for us, if we do go green and grow this the right way, to be a leader. But either way, it's gonna be a higher kilowatt per hour if we're not careful, and we're just be behind the curve. Pretty good.
You rock.
I promised her I'd do that. any questions? Not that I can answer them, but I brought somebody with me who might be able to. But yeah, any questions, Rabbi?
Jim, is most of the Cleantech that happens here in Orlando just through increasing maintenance efficiencies and upgrades to existing power plants?
We do sell and support all the wind turbines out of here in Orlando. The design and manufacture is done overseas, but the installation and the maintenance of those is done out of here. At the factory that we run here in Orlando, we are probably 95% of that product, the hardware that goes through with the manufacturing, is for the high efficiency gas turbines, the combined cycle plants. And like we've already mentioned, that's a choice that's been made. That's our primary source here in Florida for power generation. The solar is going to be headquartered out of here. In fact, the project leader is in Lake Mary for the installation in our facility. So the sale and project of that, we're still in discussion exactly where that manufacturing would be. As far as the batteries, that's entirely in the R&D group still in Japan, although the combination of that would be led out of the sales group in Lake Mary.
We'll have to work with you to get the manufacturing.
I know you would. I know. You've been. I know. Like I said, I think 7 or 8 of us came down here, and John and actually he's not here today. Mark Hohenstein was with EDC then. And in fact, Mark Hohenstein, I met him like my first week of work. I went and enrolled my kid at school, and Mrs. Hohenstein was his elementary school teacher. Went over and enrolled my daughter at high school, and Mrs. Hohenstein, his mom, was that. And I thought it was kind of like, you know, the Kennedys or something. So what is this family doing here? So, anything else? Yeah, John.
And this could go to any 3 of our speakers. The amount of money that's being laid out in these early versions of the stimulus bill as far as the grid's concerned, I mean, is the appropriation, are the amounts sufficient enough to do what we need to do to the grid given its age and the problems that exist?
We've probably got somebody. I can give you my opinion, but I doubt it. That's just my opinion. But these 2 guys over here are more versed than me. But you're exactly right. The age. The good news is one of the first ones around. Okay. The bad news is one of the first ones around, and we've patched things up. But I doubt it. I mean, you guys can comment on that.
Yeah, just to your flavor, as I mentioned, for $7 billion for a nuclear power plant, we're going to spend $3 billion for the wires. Okay, so that just gives you the context that we're at. The wires cost a lot of money.
But it's a start. I mean, we haven't heard much near the attention that it got. I mean, Boone Pickens didn't have a commercial about the grid. You know, he came on talking about sections of land, and so it's getting attention. So that's a good start. I mean, it's like the 200 kilowatts of PVs on our. It's a start. You know, it's not going to make. I got another 4 3/4 megawatts to go, but it's a start. So we got to take little steps and get moving on it.
And T. Boone Pickens is about the only guy in the gas industry that's talking about changing the paradigm. And you guys are in gasification business. If you're going to decarbonize fossil fuels, you can only do that where you have geology that allows you to do carbon sequestration. So what about integrating the natural gas pipeline infrastructure into this smart grid so that you have an integrated energy system that will go to zero carbon energy carriers in the long term, and get a plan in place, a policy analysis in place to see if that is the way we want to go. If we're going to spend $3 billion of public money on a smart grid, would we not also want to look at the natural gas pipeline infrastructure and see if you can put hydrogen in that pipeline
I think you got
and ship us clean energy rather than carbon?
Right. You got a great point there. That's exactly it. Is that the attention? The carbon can be captured. What do you do with it? And I don't see the attention being given yet to where that process is going to be. And the alternatives that go with that probably will be getting more attention as it comes up now. But right now, I don't have an answer for that.